Hi there bowlers. Now we all want to bowl a better line, so here's a process that should hopefully help you. I think that the first thing you can do to bowl a better line is decide what the correct line to bowl actually is. Now this is a process that Keith and I try and go through, so here we go. Plan A is you bowl at off stump. Now it seems dreadfully simple, right? And that's because it is. You should always start off trying to flatten off stump. So this will give you the best chance of getting the most amount of dismissals, bowled, LBW and caught behind, and it will put the most pressure on new batters early in their innings when they're most vulnerable. Now during this period, whilst you're trying to flatten off stump, you're going to be figuring out what's going on with the ball and the conditions. Is it swinging, seaming? Is the wicket slow? Is it quick? And all these sorts of things. Now I should also point out that from this line it gives you a little margin of error. If you miss on the straighter side, then bowled and LBs are in play, and if you miss wide, potentially you get left or batters make an error that creates a chance, that kind of thing. Now you could argue that you should always bowl like this. However, there probably is a slightly more optimal way. So plan B, bowl according to the conditions. Now let's assume the batter is settled, maybe they've got to 20 or they've been in for 20 minutes, that kind of thing. This is kind of up to you really. But then you should bowl according to the conditions. For example, if the surface is slow and low, or if it's uneven and going up and down, hopefully, then you should consider bowling slightly straighter. The main reason for this is that your main modes of dismissal are now bowls and LBW. There's less to gain from being outside off stump. And in fact, they're the sort of deliveries in those conditions that batters are going to be looking to score off. These conditions they're quite typical in the subcontinent and potentially club cricket in the UK. You're going to see this a lot. Now sometimes you might get conditions that are slightly quicker and bouncier with plenty of carry. In this example, you might want to be slightly more in the corridor outside off stump, knowing that caught behind is now perhaps your main threat. In fact, balls hitting the stumps or that could get an LB are quite often too full in these conditions or in the long half volleys, and you're really hoping for a huge mistake from the batter to get a wicket. Now this doesn't mean bowl wide, just slightly wider. Typically you might see these conditions in Australia, in Test cricket in the UK, county cricket potentially, and maybe some quick and bouncy pitches in club cricket at the back end of summer. So if all of that hasn't gone to plan C, this is bowl at a batter's weakness or avoid their strength. Now this is a good way of operating rather than running in aimlessly, but we believe that bowling for the conditions trumps this. In terms of line, the types of batter you might see are batters that are great off their pads or batters that love width, for example. In which case bowl accordingly. It's really simple. Maybe you've got someone who defends a bit too much in their channel, in which case bowl slightly wide of off stump. If there's a batter that kicks 2 out of every 3 and is an LB candidate, then obviously you want to be slightly straighter. Now, it's kind of obvious, but one thing that you should note here is that ideally you'd have researched or at the very least thought about your opponents before bowling. If you haven't, you're going to have to be reading them and picking up cues as their innings progresses. Now, I hope you found this useful and you've enjoyed it. If you have, please support the channel, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. Bye for now, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.